in the sense that there's a couple different ways that we can kind of go, right? There's a couple ways we can kind of go. It's almost like a choose your own adventure. Do you remember the choose your own adventure books? Like, they were so awesome, right? You're like, all right, you're climbing up a mountain, and then you look at the top of the mountain, and all of a sudden there's a bobcat, and the bobcat is making noise towards you, rawr, and it's kind of growling at you, and it's like, so what do? Do you continue to move towards the bobcat? Do you pull a stake out of your backpack and throw it? Or do you go back to the bottom and you're like, yo, I'm going to grab the stake and I'm going to throw it. And you throw the stake and you turn the page and then it's like, boom, you threw the stake, but the bobcat didn't want the stake. It wanted you. Rah! You died, right? Like, they're fun, mate. The choose your own adventure books were fun. You could take one book, one little 80-page book, and have 3 full stories out of it, man. All kinds of different ways that you can go. I don't know if you're old enough to remember those. I don't even know if they still make those. I had an idea once. It was just like a concept that I had kind of thought in my head, and it was that we should have choose your own adventure kind of podcast or choose your own adventure training material, right? I'm in the training space all the time. So it's like, you want to go left or do you want to go right? Right? It would just be more fun, more engaging. Anyways, today's episode, we can go a little bit left. We can go a little bit right. Now, I'm not talking politics at all. I'm just saying we're probably going to kind of go down this path, but then I also have some ideas over on this path. We're wrapping up this series called Spooky Good. And today, obviously, is Halloween. So we're going to wrap the series. We'll see which way it goes. Either way, I think it's going to be great.
Good morning and welcome to hashtag Rise and Grind. I am your host, Glenn Lundy. I am a husband to 1, a father to 8, and the creator of what is going to be the #1 most watched morning show in the world. It is 5:30 a.m. and I hope that you are ready to rise and grind.
Yo, I could just hear just popped onto Facebook so that I could see that Tony Schmidt's on Facebook and Valerie Stone's on Facebook and Scott Simons is on Facebook. Mike Larkin is on Facebook, right? Russell Hill's on Facebook. So I just popped into Facebook so that I could see that. And man, we sound good this morning. I am liking the morning voice today. There's a little bit of a rasp right there in the back. You catching that? Just a little bit of rasp. The mic sounds great today. It's perfect for this Halloween theme that we're talking about, right? We've been talking about Halloween. You got to have the little spooky sounds as we talk about Halloween. Then you got the voice. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you, my friend? How are you, my friend? Dude, today is Friday. That's right. Today is Friday, October 31st, 2025. And what's crazy is today is the very first and the very last time it'll ever be Friday, October 31st, 2025. So I want to make sure we make the absolute most, and I do mean the absolute most, of this absolutely incredible day. It is the day. Today's the big day. It's Halloween. Everybody's going to go out. Not everybody, but people are going to go out. And they're going to do the trick-or-treating thing. The kids are going to get all dressed up. I think I've got some kids that are going to be minions. And I think I've got some kids that are going to be princesses. And then I think I've got a kid that's going to be an inmate. And then I think I have another kid who's going to be a female Men in Black or something like that. I've got hi Liza, happy Halloween. That's right, Spooky Good. How you doing, Jeannie? Sean Weatherby, thanks for being here. I used to love your videos of scaring people. Yeah, I should scare some people today. We'll do that for sure, Tony. That'll be great. But I've got lots of kids, which means obviously we've got lots of different costumes that they will be dressing up in today. And so we'll do the Halloween thing. I think Savannah's at that age now. She's going off to a Halloween party. I think that's what she's doing. Maybe some of you guys are going to go to a Halloween party tonight. I don't know. I don't know if you're the type that does that. Maybe you dress up, you go to the Halloween party. I don't know. So violent, but I think that's what Savannah's doing. And then my son, he wants to go trick-or-treating with his girlfriend or something like that. Like the dynamics are starting to change in the Lundy house. Before it was just, pretty simple. Before it was just a couple little kids in a costume. You took them trick-or-treating. But now it's getting a little more complex, but that's okay. But tonight is the night. It is Halloween 2025. And then tomorrow will come. Tonight it might be the party, it might be the costumes, it might be the trick-or-treating. I'm not sure what it's going to be for you. But I do know one thing for certain. Tonight, after Halloween is over, tomorrow will come. And tomorrow morning, the streets will be empty again. They will be quiet. There will not be ghouls and ghosts walking around. There will not be people in all these costumes. Tomorrow, it'll be empty again. And piled in the laundry baskets all across America, there will be the costumes of today. And all of the masks that people are wearing today, yeah, Ramon says a hard no Halloween for me. I feel you, brother. Tomorrow, all of the masks that everybody had on tonight, those masks will come off. You see, what's interesting about Halloween, and as we've kind of dove into it this week, it's interesting to me because for one night every year, the world kind of gives itself permission to pretend, to be someone else, to flirt with fear, to laugh in the face of death. I think that you and I can agree that the one thing that, I don't want to say all of us, but the one thing that maybe most of us fear is death. The unknown aspect of it, the desire, or what am I going to miss out on if I do die, the concern or worry of the pain, et cetera, right? Death is something pretty much everyone tries to avoid, but yet on Halloween, for that one night, we get to kind of laugh in the face of death, because if you think about it, Halloween has always been more than a party, but ultimately it's an ancient story. And it's an ancient story that ends the same way. No matter how far back you go in time, no matter how much history we look up around the subject of Halloween, it always ends the same way. Every Halloween story ends the same way. It ends in the light. It ends in the sunrise of the next day. That's what we're going to talk about a little bit here today. Before we do, though, you know what we got to do on this show. Ramon doesn't like the Halloween music. He doesn't like that Halloween music. Here, maybe we'll just, you know what? We'll just go old school. Here, we'll just do this for Ramon. How about this? How about that? You guys ready? Yeah, let's go. Come on, that's what I'm talking about. Let's go. For those of you that know, and those of you that don't know, this is the part of the show where I need you to hit that share button. That's right, I need you to hit that share button, because I believe if we can change the way people start their day, it'll make a massive impact on this planet. I truly believe that. Oh, I'm going to have to turn it down a little bit. There we go. Because I believe if we can change the way people start their day, it'll make a massive impact on this planet. I truly believe that. And sometimes all it takes to change the way people start their day is for you, yes, you, to hit that share button. This is also the part of the show where I want to say good morning to you, and I want you to say good morning to me. Whether you're watching live or you're watching on replay, say what's up, and I will say what's up back. My name is Glenn Lundy. I am a husband to one, a father to 9. I am the author of the legacy titles, 12 Proven Principles to Grow Your Business 800%. I also wrote a book called The Morning 5 Simple Steps to an Extraordinary Life. I am the owner and founder at the 800% Elite Automotive Club, and I'm also the host of this daily morning show. Hashtag Rise and Grind, 5:30 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. And on this show, whether you're watching live or you're watching a replay, I want you to say good morning to me, and I will say good morning to you. Maylin Wilkin, good morning. Thanks for being here. I see Tanya Robinson, thanks for being in the building today. Trisha Rue is in the building. Jeremy Nolling, what's up, Mr. Jeremy Nolling? Amazing Jeremy Nolling. What's up, Sean Weatherby? How are you this morning? Sarah Green is in the building. Christy McNaughton, the whole psychological shift. That's right, when we start dancing, object in motion stays in motion. Whether you're at work, whether you're in the gym, whether you're out on a run, get that body in motion. Russell Hill, he's feeling great. It is a great song, I agree. Colleen Dillon is in the building. Michelle Gravely, I already said good morning to you. I'll do it again. Antonio Barbosa, what's up? Bella Rigby, thanks for being here this morning. Rich Pintrick is in the building. Tony Thorstad is in the building. You forgive me? Thank you, Ramon. I appreciate that. Ramon is in the building. Russell Hill, I think I already said hi to you. I'll say it again. Sol Salcido is in the building. Pastor Jeff is in the building this morning. Great to see you. Maybe there's two Gravely's. Maybe that's what's tying me up. I think there's two Gravely's in here. Tosh Queen is in the building. Liza Borges in the building. Samantha Baker is in the building. What about people who are watching later, Glenn? Well, later there's going to be a Robert Migliaccio, and there's going to be a Kathy Camacho, and there's going to be my mom, and there's going to be my friend Heather Parody. She's going to be watching later, and there's going to be quite a few other people. I don't know why those are the main names that pop up when I think about the later viewers. 99% of our viewers actually watch this show on replay. Only 1% get up early enough Eastern time to come be a part of this show. And every week on this show, we launch a series. A series or a theme. And this week's theme has been Spooky Good, with it being culminating today in Halloween. And so we've done some research on Halloween. We've kind of gone back and tied it into different aspects of our life. We talked earlier in the week about how vampires represent the greed, one man living off of the blood of another. We talked about how the ghosts are the aspects of ourselves that are kind of lingering and that we just need to let go of so they can go to wherever that new place is. We talked about werewolves, how they're an example of letting out the rage that exists at times in us. And we went all the way back and we learned that Halloween actually started from a Celtic tradition called Samhain, Samhain, which represents the Celtic New Year. You see, back then, they believed that the veil, I guess that's the word I would use, they believed that the veil between worlds was thin. That's what they believed. They believed that the veil between worlds was thin. So back then they would light bonfires. They would get dressed in different disguises, and they would leave food for wandering spirits. Think about that. Bonfires, disguises, and they would leave food for wandering spirits. But what's interesting is it wasn't about horror, this Celtic New Year holiday. It wasn't about horror. It was really about honor. You see, the celebration of Halloween before it was Halloween was a reminder that life and death are one big circle. And so maybe that's what we've been doing a little bit this week. Maybe we've taken some time to kind of honor the parts of ourselves that we recognize. And then we're also taking the time to kind of look at and making peace with what we've become through our past, through our experiences, through the beliefs. But then more importantly, now we're able to lean in as we head into the weekend. We're able to lean in and say, okay, now what does this mean for the future? Because after every Halloween comes the sun. After every darkness comes the light. There's a Celtic proverb. It says this. It says, here as the old year ends and the darkness of winter begins, we welcome the opportunity for a new start. As we incubate and strengthen our hopes for the new year, traditionally, it is an opportunity to honor our ancestors and embrace our roots. You see, trick-or-treating started centuries ago, and back in the day, it actually used to be called souling. So poor villagers went door to door, offering prayers for the dead in exchange for food. And see, over time, it became a game. It was a trade of fear for something sweet. And when I read that, because I did not know that, and when I read that, I thought, well, that's interesting, right? That's interesting. The idea was to trade fear, right? Trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. If you don't, I don't care. You know, I'll pull down your underwear, I think is how the kids say it, right? But it's trick or treat, like fear, you're going to get tricked, we're going to do something bad, or treat, something sweet. And so I look at that metaphorically and I'm like, all right, that's kind of still us, isn't it? Like, it's not just on Halloween that you and I are doing this, right? Like, for example, some of us are trading authenticity for approval. Some of us are trading depth, real depth, for distraction. Here's what I mean, right? Like, think about it. Like, every scroll, every post, right? Every time you scroll, every time you make a post, or every post that comes through, right? It's like someone banging on the door, knocking, saying, "Hey, trick or treat, trick or treat. Hey, do you see me?" And maybe what's interesting is that maybe the real treat isn't what's going in my kids' candy bags today. Maybe the real treat for you and I would be choosing truth over the tricks. Choosing to actually look at the ugly, scary things that exist in our hearts, that exist in our minds, that exist in the world. Like, choosing to really look at it, even though it might be, choosing to really look at it versus just choosing to get the little sugar hits, right? Tonight, my kids are going to come home with a whole bunch of candy, probably more candy than they should. What's up, Mr. Nate Forrest? How you doing? Kimberly Hatfield, thanks for being here. Wes Storm is in the building. Tanya Robinson, thanks for being here. Does that say Robinson? Yep, Tanya Robinson. Tonight, my kids are going to have a ton of candy, more candy than they should have. That is for sure. And it's going to be filled with all these little hits of sugar. And they're going to eat as much of it as they can tonight. And then they're going to separate it out and they're going to eat as much of it as they can over the next week or two. And then at some point in the next 10 to 20 days, I would say, at some point in the next 10 to 20 days, my wife is going to be absolutely fed up with the little monsters that this candy creates. And she is going to take every single bit of that candy that's left. It won't be a lot, but she's going to take every little bit of that candy that's left and she's going to pour it straight in the trash can. Like, that's a fact. That is what is going to happen, right? Because that candy, it's just this little tiny micro dose, creating this dopamine, creating this energy, but it's not real. There's no depth to it. And I feel the same way about the hour and a half a day on TikTok. No depth, just little tiny hits. What's up, Trevor? How are you? Good to see you. What's up, Mike Larkin? Just little tiny hits, right? And what's interesting is when we live in a world like this, where we have all that distraction, where we'd much rather be distracted than to actually, we'd much rather kind of just put on our masks, right? Not be authentic and just kind of get those little hits and not go too deep. We want to avoid the truth. I think what's interesting is what ends up happening is we end up wearing these masks so convincingly that we forgot that we ever put them on. But there is something about this year that I will say, for me personally, and maybe for you, and in conversations I've had with some people around me and in my circles, there is one thing that I will say. This year does feel a little bit different. This year, to me, it does feel like humanity, people, humans, me, you, that we're starting to kind of see through these illusions in the media, these illusions when it comes to like money, like we're starting to see all these illusions or see through these illusions. And it seems like the collective costume is kind of slipping, right? The masks of the media are starting to be pulled down. We're starting to see behind the curtain. We're starting to understand. It's almost like that Oz moment in The Wizard of Oz, right? And it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable seeing all of these things. But at the same time, it's kind of divine if you think about it, right? Because like we talked about earlier in the week, before every resurrection, there is a period that is incredibly uncomfortable, incredibly ugly, incredibly brutal. Before every resurrection, there's a revealing of what is really happening, what is behind the scene, right? Before every rising, there's a reckoning, right? Like the same way that my kids are going to dump their candy bags on the floor and they're going to sort through all the candy and they're going to say what's real and what's fake and what's good and what's bad. It feels like humanity right now is dumping everything out that it's gathered, all of our beliefs, all of our fears, all of our stories. And it feels like we're all starting to ask the question, what's real? What is real? I read this quote by Elvis Presley, of all people, Elvis Presley. And he said, truth is like the sun. You can shut it out for a time, but it isn't going away. So listen, today it's Halloween, and as this Halloween week comes to an end, I just want us all to remember that this holiday, just like any other, it's trying to teach us something. And I think ultimately Halloween is here to teach us that endings are beginnings, that darkness is the soil where new life is born. But even more than that, to the point where I think even Ramon can really appreciate and respect this. Even those that don't like Halloween, aren't interested in Halloween, maybe there's religious, emotional, spiritual feelings towards the holiday. I think all of you, including myself, can appreciate this one lesson that I think Halloween is trying to teach, if we just really sit in it and look at it. And that lesson is that pretending is never as powerful as becoming. So as we go into Halloween, as you go into your trick-or-treating, as you go into your Halloween parties, as you go, maybe you don't celebrate Halloween at all, whatever it is you're doing today, whatever path it is you're taking today, whatever connections and relationships and conversations you're going to have, I just want to remind you, it's okay to take off the costume. It's okay to walk with courage. And not only is it okay, but it's really, really, really important that you carry the light. You see, we need to go from tricks to truth. I really believe that. We need to go from night to dawn. We need to go from fear to faith. You see, I told you this show can kind of go a couple different ways today, and you guys have no idea. It's actually gone 3 or 4 different ways. Maybe it feels that way. Maybe it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully I've done it in a way that you don't even realize. You're on a choose your own adventure this morning. But all week we have wandered through the shadows, right? And a little bit earlier in the week, we talked about how darkness wasn't the enemy. It was the teacher. Darkness was the place where courage was born. Darkness is the place where the truth showed its face. Darkness is the place where we stopped pretending and we started becoming. And that is really what I want you to take out of this. Because listen, you cannot outrun the dark, but you can outrise it. Every fear you face can add wattage to your soul and to your spirit. Every truth you tell brings dawn a little bit closer. It is dawn that defines the night, not the other way around. So listen, I believe that there is a light rising around the world right now, some new kind of consciousness, and it's not like the fluffy kind of consciousness. It's not the veiled kind of consciousness, but it's something very, very real. I think it's the kind of consciousness that's starting to look at broken systems and say no more. A kind of consciousness that values humans over headlines. A kind of consciousness that is trading compliance for creativity, and hopefully trading fear for faith. Here on hashtag Rise and Grind, and within my company 800%, that's what it's always been about. I've been in the automotive space, but it's never been about selling cars. It's always been about empowering and being empowered by people. The dealerships that I work in, this show right here, the community that we've built, like this is just the lab, right? This is the lab that we work in, but ultimately humanity, impacting humanity in a positive way, that is the mission. And one of my favorite quotes comes to mind as I think about what is happening, the consciousness shift, all the things in the world, this whole theme, this whole series. It brings me to one of my favorite quotes, favorite poems actually, but it says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure." And I believe that to be true. I believe that you and I are children of God, the God of the universe, the God that made everything. And that God made you and I to be the absolute best versions of ourselves that we could possibly be. Not average versions, not a little bit above average, not a little bit below average, but absolute best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be. And the only way to become the best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be, that act of becoming, requires us to stumble through the dark and make our way to the light. Ladies and gentlemen, I love you. I do. I absolutely stinking love you. If nobody's told you that yet today, let me be the first. I absolutely stinking love you. Let's take down the masks. Let's unveil the truth. Let's look the darkness. Let's head into the darkness directly, no matter how comfortable that might be, so that tomorrow we can rise. Does that sound fair? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for hanging with me this week. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Hashtag Rise and Grind. I'll be back again tomorrow. No, I will not. I will be back again Monday morning. I'll be back again Monday morning at 5:30 a.m. and we will do it all over again right here on Hashtag Rise and Grind. I'm going to head over to Clubhouse. There's an app called Clubhouse, and there's a group called Breakfast with Champions. That's where we kind of discuss after the show. I like going over there and I listen in to people's feedback. Feel free to come join us. All right. Otherwise, I'll see you Monday. Have a good one. Have a great weekend and a happy Halloween.
Got that old feeling that I know in the dark of the night I'll be all right. The sun will rise.